Frederick Douglass. Now, if you don't learn nothing in Black History Month, you learn Martin Luther King, Frederick Douglass. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So to know that he stood in Galesburg and spoke and was on par with what Barkay was doing and trying to get things going, like, it's wild to me.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the Talk About It podcast. I'm Lauren Fulmer.
I'm Victor Dantas.
And today we have a fun episode. Looking forward to this one. We have Shanell Lightfoot with us. Shanell, how are you?
I'm doing great. It's snowing outside.
Yeah.
I'm not used to it, but I'm doing good.
Yeah. No, we appreciate you making a stop here with us while you're in town.
For sure.
Why don't you start off with just kind of telling people about yourself and what you have going right now?
Sure. So I'm essentially raised in Galesburg, so I'm from the area, but I left when I went away to college. Fast forward 20 years, I'm 41 now. I live down in Atlanta with my husband and my children, and maybe a year ago, I got this idea to start a tour company in Galesburg, so that's actually why I'm back. We are going to be doing history tours and brewery tours. The company's called Galesburg City Tours and Travel Co. And this is kind of like my new thing. I'm all in 100%. So
that's great.
Yeah. What made you, the travel visitor bureau, what drew you to that field?
So my bachelor's degree is in hospitality and tourism management. So I graduated from TSU, Tennessee State in Nashville, and immediately went to go work for Disney. So I was down in Florida working for Disney, slaving away, just doing everything. I worked for the Disney event group. So that's kind of where I got my foot really, deep into the hospitality segment. But in my life, I guess as an adult, I've traveled extensively across the United States, and I've been to Paris. We were in the Seychelles last year. But every time I go somewhere, I try to do things like locals do, because I feel like you get a better just experience when you can, engage with the culture. Yeah. So I came to Galesburg back in 2021 when my dad passed away. I came back home. And because I knew it was going to be like just mad chaos, I didn't want to stay like with my mom, and I wanted to kind of be by myself. So I got a room at the Great House in Galesburg, and I stayed there for the weekend. And so it was that weekend where I noticed I was experiencing Galesburg as a visitor for the first time. I felt like whenever I stayed with my mom, I was back in my old room. It was just like, okay, I'm here again. Let's get back into the swing of things. But staying at the Great House, I got to see Galesburg from a different perspective. So I wasn't staying where I normally stay, but then I was going to all the restaurants. I went to an orchestra show. I went to an art show. I was doing all these things that I had never really done. And so I was just like, are other people doing this? Is this like normal or whatever when you come back? And most of the people that I talked to, they were like, no, we're not. We're just kind of getting back into the swing of things. So I had taken tours when I was in these other places, even in Chicago. And I was just like, Galesburg is the perfect spot for a daggone history tour because there's so much history here. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the history we don't even know about. You went to GHS. You were a Galesburg kid. Mm-hmm. They don't teach us much of the stuff. We know Carl Sandburg. We know, Ronald Reagan lived here, all that kind of stuff like that. But like the deep stuff, like we don't know. Right. So I went down this rabbit hole of research, and I know somebody at Knox who hooked me up with somebody else in special archives at Knox, and they just put it on the table. So I'm in there, with the highlighter, just highlighting. I'm like, how did I not know this? So after the research, and then just combining my experience, in sales, in hospitality, I was like, this is a win. I did some research, pulled some data. Enjoy Illinois creates this like massive data report. I went through all of it to see if it would work, financially, if it made sense, and it just made sense. And I was pretty much done with real estate. I owned a real estate brokerage in Georgia that I sold last year. And so I was just like, let's go. I was like, this is it. I'm just going to do it. So
good.
Yeah.
What was your biggest like aha or what moment that like Galesburg archives dropped?
So I'll give you two. But the first one, I actually grew up on North Street. So that I lived on North Street for probably 5 years of my life. And the founder of Galesburg, George Washington Gale, his house is on North Street. I literally probably walked past that house, caught the bus down the street from that house like 1,000 times, no clue.
Right.
When I went to go back and look at it, I was just like, I don't even remember this house being here. But knowing that I lived right down the street from the founder's original house that's still standing and Knox owns today, had no clue. The second thing, and this is probably the most shocking, as a person of color in Galesburg, like I said, we don't learn much about Black history other than this was a part of the Underground Railroad, and you kind of leave it at that. Mm-hmm. There's a guy named Joseph Barquet who, I don't know when it was like the 1800s, like right around Emancipation Proclamation time. I guess like 1865, 1863, somewhere around there. But he actually joined the 54th Regiment, which, if you know the movie Glory, that's what that movie is about. So there's 13 Black men who Lincoln emancipated, and they were then able to volunteer for the infantry, and they went and fought, came back, and he essentially is the person who helped integrate the schools in Galesburg. He fought like the superintendent and the school board. They raised $400 to like get an attorney and do all this kind of stuff. But this guy, I mean, has done so much, and I never even heard about it.
Right, I never heard that name.
What's his name again?
Joseph Barquet.
Okay, never heard either.
Nobody has. But the thing is, Knox College is like a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah.
And I came across like a document that they had online, and I reached out to Special Archives, and I was like, hey, can you send me, do you have any more of this? And they were like, absolutely. And they were like, when you're in town, come and we'll, Lauren, when I tell you, the table was like full. I was like, wait a minute. So we were going through it, and they were like, oh yeah, this. And I was just like, this is wild to me. And so we were in school in the 80s and 90s. Glory came out in 90. Like, why is Galesburg not telling us about this kind of stuff, you know? But that's probably the most shocking thing that I learned. Just for Black people in general, just as a culture, that group of people who went and fought and won, you know, this part of the war, helped to free slaves and all this kind of stuff. Like, and then he comes back and is fighting with people to get kids in school. Like, it's crazy.
So the movie Glory, I've never seen it. So I will have to watch it for sure. Have you seen it? I hadn't seen it. So and now I assume in the movie they have their real names.
I don't know how much they talk about like them individually, like being from Galesburg, because it was a lot of people.
Well, sure.
Yeah, it was a lot of people. But the movie is essentially about the general. I think it's a general or a lieutenant or something like that. And then Denzel Washington was one of like the guys.
Okay.
But just even, you know, knowing that, like, we watched so many movies, you know, we watched a whole bunch of like just stupid movies we didn't want to watch.
Right.
That's a movie that would be relatable because it's local history. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so I again just went down the rabbit hole of him, and I was like, okay, who were the other people? So I'm like trying to connect names. Somebody's last name was Jackson. My maiden name is Jackson. So I'm like, oh, could it be, you know, I don't know. Yeah. And then my married name is Lightfoot. So when I looked at, there was like maybe 250 volunteers that were soldiers, but there was a William Lightfoot from somewhere in Virginia. So why that was weird to me, my child's middle name is William because my husband's dad middle name is William because his great grandfather's first name was William. So I'm like, and they're from DC, like DMV area. So I'm like, could this have been the guy? Like, is this, you know? But, you know, when you find stuff out like that, this is how you find out, you know? But it was just crazy to me how we've got so much local history that's like cool and exciting and relatable to even pop culture. And it's just like, where are we?
Right.
So that's what these tours are about. I'm not somebody who's going to be like, you know, in 1867, this building, and it's just like stuffy and boring. Like, I got a 6-seater golf cart that's like tricked out with like low speed vehicle. We're registered. Like, we're going to be driving around 30 different spots, not just downtown Galesburg, but giving people the authentic experience of what Galesburg actually is.
That's cool.
Okay. Yeah.
And when is this taking place now? People can sign up right now?
You can buy tickets now, but our launch weekend is February 29th. That's a Thursday, and we'll go through that weekend. But just 90 minutes of hitting all these spots and telling stories, essentially.
Right.
You'll get some knowledge, but most of the tour script is storytelling and relating things to Knox. Knox College is everything for Galesburg. I didn't realize it until I went down that rabbit hole.
See, what I've learned about Knox is so crazy. My kids, their school campus is just like 2 blocks on Academy, South Academy by Knox.
Okay.
So every day we drive there, and I started, when they first started going to that campus, telling them about Knox. We in Galesburg or locally will look at Knox College and just be like, it's there.
Yeah.
And this is not putting anything against Knox College, but you just don't really see them out and about
It's
or
separate.
much in the community.
Yeah.
And then I moved to Arizona, in Bloomington Normal and other areas, and people are like, oh, Knox College. I'm like, in Phoenix, Arizona, you say Galesburg, and they're like, Knox College. You're like, well, how? It has an incredible reputation nationwide, let alone the world.
Knox College, according to Forbes, is the second highest academic school in Illinois.
Yeah.
Only after University of Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's very, very impressive. I wish there is a way, and maybe this is the way to start breaking that open or what, I don't know, but I wish Knox would seize that opportunity, if you will.
And I guess in the conversations that I've had, because I met with Owen Mulder, who is like, him and his dad, Herman Mulder, brought, they call it the Underground Freedom Station to Knox. So it's a designated spot. But just a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of information, and a lady named Lori Sauer in Special Archives. I don't think that it's Knox. I think that it's Galesburg.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because they want people to know about this stuff. You would be, I swear to you, when I called, they both were like, are you serious? And Owen Mueller's like 87 years old. And this man was like, come to my office. I was in that office for 2.5 hours. And he was just giving me. And he was just like, this is something that should have been done so long ago.
Yeah.
And in the way you're trying to do it is going to bring people in who don't give a damn about history.
Right.
Because I personally do not care. I'm not somebody who's like,
historian.
let me go to the museum. No, I don't care.
Sure.
Like, I want the knowledge. I want it to be fun, and I'll keep it.
Yeah.
And that's what this is going to be
good
about.
Experience.
Absolutely. I want it to be immersive. So one of the things that we have too that's a little bit different, and I had to go through like the lawyers at Knox and all kind of stuff, but we're actually going to get off of the cart and go into some of the buildings. So I don't know if you've ever been in Alumni Hall, but the 3rd floor is like a museum. Mm-hmm. And it tells the story of Joseph Barquet, and it tells the story of just I was going to say George Washington Carver. George Washington Gale tells the story of Galesburg and just everything that it has gone through. And it's just beautiful. It looks like a museum. I didn't even know it existed. Mm-hmm. I think it was put in at maybe 2006. So I was still kind of hanging around, but didn't know. So we're going to go inside of there. Obviously, we'll stop and look at the Lincoln Douglas debate stuff, but we're not going to focus on that because everybody already kind of knows about it. You know what I'm saying? I want to focus on the stuff that people are just like, I had no clue. Yep. Like, that's where I want to leave you. I didn't know that.
Yeah, the alumni, have you been there? Alumni Hall?
No.
Yeah, it's very nice. The building is great. And they just, I think they just made some changes there to make it more modern. And
it's really nice.
Yeah, it's so nice there.
Yeah, no, I would go.
One thing I've heard about small towns like Galesburg, Mammoth, is that the schools like Knox and Galesburg was the first thing in Galesburg, and then the city starts to form around the school. Mammoth was the same thing. So like Knox College is from 1837, I think. We're talking about almost 200 years already. So it's like the most traditional thing in small towns like that. They have a school like Knox and Mammoth. It was the school, and then people started building houses around.
Well, the founder, George Washington Gale, came from New York, and him and his group came here to create a school. They created Lombard College, which turned into Knox. They called it something else. I can't think of it right now, but into Knox, and then now what it is today. So this town is built on religion and education.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to forget about that when, we modernize everything and everybody's trying to do their own thing, but that's the roots of Galesburg. That's why there's so many damn churches. There's so many churches.
An old big one.
Yeah.
You talk nice about ones. Some of them like right on the square.
Yeah.
I don't know how long that one's been there, but it's old and it's humongous.
So Central Congregational Church is probably the church that you're speaking of. I learned that Frederick Douglass actually gave a speech in front of that church, and he got here because of Joseph Barquet. So it's really crazy and wild, just the stuff that I've discovered, because obviously I pay attention to the Black history stuff because I'm Black and I want, people of color to be, learned about as well. Right. But when I heard that, I was like, Frederick Douglass. Now, if you don't learn nothing in Black History Month, you learn Martin Luther King, Frederick Douglass, you know what I'm saying? So to know that he stood in Galesburg and spoke and was on par with what Barquet was doing and trying to get things going, like, it's wild to me.
So how exciting as you start piecing these little things, it's like putting together a puzzle. You mentioned the Joseph Barquet. Did I say it right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so when you start seeing those names and seeing that, it had to start to grow like a fire, and it eventually turned into, we're going to do this.
Listen, I am somebody who's not easily shocked. I kind of think I know a little bit of everything, and I felt like I knew Galesburg history just based on what I learned. But I'm telling you, I was in there's the Red Room at Knox. I don't know if you're familiar, but it's Special Archives. I was in there like, what? Are you serious? And she was like, oh, look at this. And I was like, wait a minute. Like, I learned so much. I even knew where he lived. So I called the alderman. They have alderman in Galesburg, Dwight White. He lived in his ward. So I was like, yo, we need to get a plaque or something of this guy. I was like, it was your ward. So I'm trying to gas it up. Like, we got to do something.
Right.
And Lori's like, we want to get a statue. And I was like, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's go. But it's crazy. Like I said, to live in a place your whole life and you walk past these buildings and you go down these streets, you don't know who they're named for. You don't know why this structure's here. You don't know, what is Lincoln holding at his statue in front of the train station? The Emancipation Proclamation. I didn't know that.
I didn't either.
So it's just little stuff like that that's just kind of mind blowing for locals, but for people that are visitors, it's just wow, this place kind of is cool. You know what I'm saying?
So for people to have a vision on how your tour is going to look like, can you go on more details on how you said 90 minutes that will last? And you said a golf cart, so it would be basically for 3 people max at a time, or how would that work?
It's a 6-seater, so it's a long.
Oh,
it's a big boy. It's got a big speaker in the back, it's got some sound. I got a little mic, got the little touch screen. It's a 2024. I was going in.
That's awesome.
And I've got the little cover so we can pull it down and if it's raining or whatever, but it's got the turn signals and everything. It's leather seats with charger. Nice. Put your charger in there, you know what I'm saying? But yeah. No, but we'll start the tour right downtown and we just have a route to go around every touch point. And like I said, I feel like a lot of people when they come here, they just kind of stay in downtown Galesburg because that's kind of what's promoted. But if you're a history buff and you're wanting to experience Galesburg for what it truly is, we're going to hit most of those spots. So we do the Knox College thing, and then we go down, I want to say to Academy Street. There's a plaque there because that was one of the original corners. So we'll talk about that. Bus a left, go down the street to, I can't think of what that church is right there on the corner. But there's a church down there talking about that. And this is where I bring in Hispanic culture because you know how have you heard of the boxcar family communities or whatever? Oh my God. So I don't know what year this was, but with the railroad, they needed people to lay the tracks. They needed people to basically build the railroad, and they targeted Mexico. So families uprooted from Mexico came to Galesburg and they didn't have housing for them. So they created housing out of boxcars. And so the families lived in these boxcar camps across Galesburg. One over by Taco Hideout, you know where that track is. One out on County 10, like where County 10 and South Henderson meet there. There's 2 more, but these families lived literally like 25 feet away from the tracks for years. I mean, up until like the 50s. Yeah, 1950s. But I want to talk about that as well. So when we go, after we leave that church, we're going to go down to Henderson, bust that left, and that'll take you out to like the rail yards, the hump yards out there. And there's a plaque out there that talks about them. So that's when I'll kind of go into the story of the families and, you know, all that kind of stuff. But
That's
yeah,
great.
Yeah.
So what, and I don't know if you know much about the Underground Railroad in Gib. I just kind of like heard about it.
Same.
And so what have you, and not to put you on the spot, but what did you learn about what even was this whole Underground Railroad, and what was taking place?
So for one, it's not no. So for one, it's not an actual train. There are some people that are like, oh, it was a train. No, it wasn't. Okay. And then also it wasn't always under the ground. So one thing that I always heard people say in Galesburg, well, my basement, my basement, it's not about being underground. It's like a term, you know what I'm saying? But so when I met with Owen Mulder, who's like the Underground Railroad guy, he's at Knox. He told me, and I don't remember all 5, but there's 5 characteristics of a location that will tell you that it was a part of the Underground Railroad. And he went through all 5.
We need to have him on.
Oh, he's the bomb. That man can talk too.
Good.
He's really sharp though. Awesome. I can give you his information. But he went through, and then he mentioned a house, which I'm not going to name, that people think is a part of the Underground Railroad, but it doesn't meet the 5 characteristics. So it hasn't been designated. But yeah, he's the guy. He's the one if you want to know about Underground Railroad. But
these are basically like a safe haven for people? Is that what it really was?
And what's the 5 characteristics?
I don't remember the 5 characteristics. So we can save that. You save that for Owen.
Yeah.
But essentially, it was a route for people to seek freedom. They call them runaway slaves. I call them freedom seekers. That's how we're going to talk about them in my tour, because they're freedom seekers. You know, I don't believe that they're runaway slaves. They should have never been slaves in the first place. They're seeking freedom, damn it. So there's just this route from the south. And because Galesburg had trains, it was easy for people to hop on the trains to get off and get on. So that's why a lot of people ended up here because of the trains. But everybody was headed to Chicago from the south, or to larger cities where they would be free. There's actually a story that I learned, and we will talk about this on the tour, but a lady, Susan Suki Richardson is her name, and she was a freedom seeker. I'm not for sure where she was coming from, but her owner lived in like somewhere southern Illinois, right along that like kind of Mason-Dixon line border, where it was like, okay, you might be on the north side, but you still got slaves type of vibe. So he had her, and she escaped, and she came to Galesburg, and she took her kids and all this kind of stuff. Well, this man came and got her, but he took the kids, and she like just fled because she didn't want to, be back in that. So that's a story of her getting away with her children. But that man was like, no, you're my possession. I've paid money for you and your kids. I'm going to come and get you. So like little stories like that just make me go like, damn,
right,
like this is wild. And here's another reason why it's not going to get dark. We're not going to get dark on the tour. But some of this stuff is like need to know information, and I say that because when people talk about, they're like, oh, it's abolitionist, everybody that's not true. That's not true. And there are stories of that say otherwise. So she's actually buried in Hope Cemetery, which is right at Academy and what is that, Main Street? Yeah, so that's actually the last stop on our tour.
That's crazy.
I didn't even know, like, the founders are buried there. Like, I never even thought.
I mean, it's got to be a very old cemetery.
It is.
It's got to be.
It is.
It's been there forever.
And that's who's there. Soldiers, the founding, like, fathers of Galesburg, some unmarked graves. Like, there's just so much. There's so much. It's crazy.
I think your tour will definitely bring new visitors to Galesburg.
I think it'll bring local people too.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's the whole thing. If you get local people, like say I come, I enjoy it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
when I have friends or, family or someone comes to town, they ask, what should we do? I mean, boom.
Well, and that's the goal. And so back in, I want to say November, I made this ornament, and a Christmas ornament. And it's basically like the iconic streets in Galesburg. So it's like Broad Cherry Prairie, Seminary, and then it says Galesburg. And it's like in the shape of a Christmas tree. So that was kind of my like launch to like, this is my new thing. What do you think? Sold out. People weren't just in Galesburg, but sold out. Chris Spaz messaged me. He was like, my mom just sent me the coolest ornament. She said that you made it. He lives in Chicago. Yeah. Some ladies, some ladies that I don't even know from like Kansas, they're like, we saw this on Facebook and we bought it. And I was like, cool. And then I'm friends with, I grew up with Ryan Bachman. His wife Amanda is the GM for Orange Cup. Mm-hmm. So I was like, do you guys want to sell some of these? She was like, give me all of them. Sold out. Right. So I was like, people want this kind of stuff. It's like nostalgia for locals. But also like for visitors, it's like, what am I going to do here? Like people go to Carl Sandburg's house or whatever. That's fine. That's one stop. Mm-hmm. And you can read about that online. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to, again, showcase like the true history of Galesburg. Mm-hmm. And I really feel like the connections that I've made, because I've got a deal out with Holiday Inn. Ryan Probst, he's putting together a package, like book a tour, book a room, like package. I'm doing some UGC stuff, and I said we could talk about that, user generated content with the CVB, with Randy and Tessa. Mm-hmm. But I've also got a little promo for them. I contacted every Airbnb owner in Galesburg because I read all their reviews. Why are people coming here? Knox College or for some sort of work event or something like that. These are all visitors. So they all have their own special promo code for $10 off of a tour. They've got them in their places already. Linda Larson at the Great House. Same with her. And that's another one that we're going to get off and go inside, just like we are at Knox. So I've tried to do my best to position the brand with places where visitors are actually going to be. And all of the data tells me, I know how many days people are staying here. You're on a time crunch, but you want to do something. This is 90 minutes. Mm-hmm. It's $40. Let's do it. Mm-hmm. On top of the history tour, we're also doing brewery tours. So, and that's like a 3 hours. So that's a separate tour, but it's like 3 hours. But
so there's options on the tour.
There's options.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about because when I shared with him kind of, I had asked you like, what's some things we'll talk about? Yeah. And UCG was one UGC. UGC. Mm-hmm. I didn't know. Yeah, I know you're a marketing guy. That's all. I'm like, let me get in I didn't know what that was. I had no idea. I shared with him and he was like, oh, I've been wanting to talk about that. So I have no idea what it is. So I'd love to talk about it. But you're right up his alley too. Yeah. So if I would just sit back and listen to you two.
Well, I just want to say this because I feel like sometimes like when I ask people, especially like media, they think I want to like promo the business. Obviously that's my goal, but I want to talk about what you want to talk about. Mm-hmm. So I looked at your stuff. I looked at this place and I was like, okay, marketing. Let's see. I put a list together for you. I was like, we could talk about this. And Lauren was like, let's do it. I was like, yes. Yeah. But user generated content. So you've seen it. If you're on Instagram, if you're on TikTok, you've seen user generated content. So essentially it's a regular person promoting a brand, but it's from their perspective, their point of view. So the camera looks like this, like, hey, it's me, I'm Shanell, I'm on camera. And this is why you, the buyer, should trust me because I'm a real person. I'm not a big brand trying to sell you something. Okay. I'm using the product, if it's a product, or I'm eating the food. You're seeing me, pour a drink, take a sip. It's cheesy. I'm the salesperson. So one of the benefits of that for a company is if you're working, say, with an ad agency, you got to have a budget. Mm-hmm. Everybody doesn't have a marketing budget. And you guys know that because you're here. But the cost to pay somebody to do user-generated content for 12 videos, it could be like $1,200. Mm-hmm. But the reach that you're going to get, the authenticity that you're going to get, you can't get that with an actor or an ad agency. So UGC is really like a social media kind of like game changer when it comes to marketing because you'll trust somebody that looks like you or is in your demographic or whatever more than you would a larger brand. So,
and the big companies have a way to filter that as well. I mean, I've tried to reach out to some large companies. I saw the brands of my Julian's. I have a son, a small son, 1 year old, a small baby. And then his food, the brand of his food, I tried to reach out to that company on Instagram and send a video of my kid enjoying it.
Yeah.
And then they said, "Oh, this is great. We would love to see you keep posting about our brand, and then we can get in contact with you
Once
again."
you get enough and show that they can track and see.
They just don't want people to just take advantage. Do one video, buy that thing one time, and that's it.
Right.
They want real customers to start making videos. And then the corporate start using those videos as an ad.
So I should have been doing this at Cheez-Its like 10 years ago.
Yes, it's that type of thing.
I live on Cheez-Its. Like day, night.
And
They are good.
I mean, in between car rides. I mean, it doesn't.
That would be a good one with storytelling. Like every day, I gotta eat these ones. And then you send it to Cheez-Its, and they might use that video.
All right.
yeah. And then the thing about it too is it's not, sometimes they'll want you to post on your page. Like you don't need to be like some big influencer to do this because they want you to record the content and give it to them. So then they can post it on their stuff so that it looks authentic.
Right.
I've done some stuff for a hotel. I've done some stuff for a couple restaurants in Atlanta. And then I think I told you this, but the CVB hired me to do 12 videos just throughout the year promoting different restaurants, and they want me to do Discovery Depot and stuff like that. But from a perspective of, I'm a visitor and I've traveled extensively and I know what's hot and what's not. Like I know what to order when I go to Innkeepers, or I'm going to say if they have like a promo or something going on, or if they got a product that they want to push, this is what we're going to order. This is what it's going to look like. And I'm going to film it all from my phone. I've got lights that I can clip on. I've got a stand. I do kind of like a setup like this with like multiple, and then just give it. And then they're like, okay, they give me a brief, say hit these points, period. That's it.
Wow.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
So how would be the brewery, the tour for the beer aspect?
Sure. So there's the three: Cherry Street, Iron Spike, and Reserve.
Okay.
And we would start probably at Cherry Street just because I want to hit Reserve last because it's really nice and they're like super nice people. I just love them. But we'd start at Cherry Street. Everybody can order a flight. So when you, let me backtrack. When you sign up for the brewery, it's $97, the Brewery Tour, but you get flights and some snacks at each of the locations. So at Cherry Street, it's a flight of 6, and it's all local brewed stuff that they're, brewing there, and people would obviously taste and rate and all that kind of stuff. But Sam, who is the brewer, is going to give
him here.
Oh, nice. Nice. Yeah. So Sam is willing to like kind of tell a story, because he and I talked, and I was like, okay, I don't want you to like get into like the weeds because people really don't care about the stuff that you care about, love.
Yeah,
and you want to keep it fun and fresh. So he's creating some like stories about the what are the bins that they brew it in?
The bin,
whatever them things are called.
The beer bin.
There's some stories behind that. So for just a handful of minutes, the group will go in there because it's a small space.
Yeah.
And then he'll kind of give them something about that. We're only going to be at each spot for 45 minutes. So once we leave there, we'll walk, and there's a lot of history right in that little Simmons Street area with like bars, but also like architecture. So as we walk over, this one we'll be walking because it's so close. Unless it's like 4 people, I'll drive. But there's a lot of history right in that little strip. So they'll get some history, some architecture knowledge, and then we'll go to Iron Spike, essentially do the same thing, and then go to Reserve.
It's a block and a half total.
I know.
I think between the 3 breweries.
I know.
So yeah.
So,
no, that's great.
And then Reserve is like a pour your own. I don't know if you've ever been there.
Yeah,
it's a pour your own. So you get your pour card. And
that bus is incredible.
Yeah. It's a Peoria City bus. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. They have like a story on TikTok or a reel or something from like a long time ago that I remember seeing.
Honestly, all 3 of those, Cherry Street, Iron Spike, and Artisan, have all done a great job with their venue, their setup.
Yeah. And they've been so great, like gracious to me. I always start with, I'm not asking you for money.
Right.
I just want to know. Basically, I'm telling you that I'm bringing people here, and I just kind of want the logistics to work out.
Right.
I want our space to be reserved. Like if I say I got 7 people coming in tomorrow, we're all going to get flights. We're going to all get like 2, well, not all, but we'll get like 2 appetizers, and just, we need to have it ready so that logistically we can keep things moving. And they're like, oh, okay, fine. Just let us know the day before, and we'll have, X, Y, and Z set up. I know the tap room managers. I know. So I'm just like, let's get it.
No, they have a great thing going.
I would like to take that tour. I mean, I've been to all 3 places. I like beer. But I think it will be fun to be in a group setting.
Yeah. You need a guinea pig ride? Yeah. Do you need like a trial run?
Tomorrow. So I put out because I, for whatever reason, have started to people have started to recognize it on social media. Yeah. Because other people are sharing and whatever. But I put out a post in the We Are Galesburg Facebook group or whatever. It was like 5,000 people. And I was like, I need 15 people to do a promo video, super candid. I'll, buy food and drink. Send me a message. I got like 50 messages.
I was going to say.
And then my own friends, like Kristen Louderman's or Kalman, she's going to do it, and she's bringing her boyfriend, even just people that I know. But I had to be like, okay, I need to dwindle the list down. Are you coming for sure? Right. But we're doing a promo tour.
Good.
Tomorrow throughout Galesburg. So it'll be a mix of history and brewery just to kind of get the demographics face. Yeah. Because most of the visitors that are coming to Galesburg and that are spending money don't look like me. So I know that doesn't matter, but it matters. So they need to see. I've got somebody who she's 70, but she's bad. She's a nice 70. She's cute. Yeah. Laura Howard's mom. Oh, yeah. Yeah. She's coming down from Peoria. She's like, I want to support
Why'd you just throw her age out here?
I'm sorry. She's bad, though. She's a baddie. It doesn't matter.
She is.
But I want to get that older lady demographic because they have time and money. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. There's some older guys in between 50s and 70s as well. And then somebody's bringing their kids. So a girl is bringing her kids. That's perfect for the history tour. You have to be 10 or older to ride in a low-speed vehicle in Illinois. So anybody that's 10 and up can do it. So she's bringing them. So I want to get video and shots of just everybody, all ages, so that when we start to really do a heavy push, people will see themselves and then want to do it.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, if you have any last second cancellations,
okay.
You got
and the mayor's he's doing it too.
Is he? Really?
Yeah, Peter. Yeah.
That's great. That's great.
No, good for you. This is exciting stuff. I'm really happy for you.
Thank you.
This sounds fun. I'll thank you from our community standpoint too of just giving one more added feature, one more added thing to do.
Yeah.
And bless your heart too, all the legwork and stuff that you did, just not only learn for yourself, but to make this tour legit and have good talking points and stuff. So high five.
Thank you. I honestly feel like when I do stuff, I only do it because I really want to do it. If I get paid, great. But I'm 41 now. I think maybe when I turned 35, I was like, I'm not doing anything that I don't want to do anymore. I've worked up hard. My husband has a good career. I don't really have to do anything if I don't want to. So anything that I do, I give it 1,000% commitment and just go all in. I even started coaching again. I played basketball at GHS, as you know. And I coached when I lived in St. Louis. And then I just had a really bad experience with some parents. And I was like, I'm done with this. I don't have time. And this last year, my husband was just like, why don't you coach again? And I was just like, okay, I think I'm a little bit more mature. I'm a little bit more, I can handle people's criticism and stuff like that. And I literally had the worst players who had never played basketball before, but I love a challenge. Yeah. So, and I don't know if you've seen my Instagram stories, but I'll highlight them from time to time. But we were supposed to be, so there was two teams at this one gym. And I was here, so I missed the draft. They did a draft. So I was left with whoever didn't get picked. Oh, right. And so I was just like, oh my. The first day of practice, I was just like, okay, this is where we're starting. So we lost our first 3 games, and my focus really was on effort. I can't teach you to shoot in a 1-hour practice a week, with half court. I can't teach you to be, Steph Curry. I can't teach you all these basketball things that everybody wants to do. What I can teach you is how to hustle. What I can teach you is how to play defense. What I can teach you is basketball IQ stuff so that you can assess and read situations and stuff like that. 6-6, baby. Mm-hmm. We came out 6-6, and we beat the team that was drafted.
They got to draft their team.
We beat them 3 times, not once, but 3 times. So
good for you.
I say all that to say I'm doing this, but it's not like a job. Like, it's just something that I want to do. I want to do it for this place because I feel like sometimes Galesburg gets a bad rap. It's boring. There's nothing to do.
Right.
Well, what are you doing?
Right. Mm-hmm. Do something about it.
Yeah, there is something to do.
We've talked about that before. You know, there's plenty of people that I mean, it's just, and it's not just Galesburg. It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, everyone can point out real quick what's going wrong, but have no solution to the
exactly.
problem.
And I'm just a solution-based person, anyways. And like I said, when I commit to something, like I commit to it. So, a lot of the meetings that I had set up, they thought this was just like an idea, and I was like, oh no, like you can look me up. I'm registered with the city, the state. I'm a foreign entity in Illinois. Like I'm done. Like I've done everything. The vehicle got delivered. They're like, "Oh, you're serious?" And I was like, "Yeah,
yeah."
Like we're doing this. Like, are you in?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Do you have a way for people to check the dates available for the tours? A calendar online where people can book the time and day and everything?
Yep. So GalesburgCityTours.com is the website. You can read about the tours. You can book the tours. You can buy tour insurance. You can buy an ornament.
There you go.
There's a lot of stuff that you can do. Yeah. And then I've also, like I said, created some partnerships with like CDB. So we're going to be on there once they get their website fixed. Mm-hmm. And then, like I said, I'm in the Airbnbs. It's just a QR scan in Holiday Inn, QR scan.
Good.
So you can do it all direct.
Good for you.
That's great.
No cash. Right. Don't try to run up on me. It's no cash. 0 cash.
Yeah. Shanell, thanks. I really appreciate you coming and doing this with us.
For sure. Thank you for having me.
Wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much.
I'm not kidding. If you have a cancellation on that, you let us know.
Yeah, or if you want to do like guys' day out or something, like
when the weather gets nice,
celebration.
I'll be ready. I'm ready for that.
You have a birthday deal too?
We can talk about it.
Okay.
We can talk about it. We can talk about it.
Shanell Lightfoot, thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Shanell Lightfoot, another fun episode here on the Talk About It podcast. Appreciate your guys' support. Have a good rest of your day. I'm Lauren Fulmer.
I'm Victor Dantas.
See ya.
See you guys next week.
Thank you for watching this episode of the Talk About It podcast.
I'm Victor Dantas.
I'm Lauren Fulmer.
And we would encourage you guys to subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to hit the bell. It's going to be right below the video. So
hit the bell.
So you know when the next episode is up.
We appreciate all the support.
Thank you.